Yo, it's Cinderella Sew. What up? Today I'm going to show you how to take a button-up shirt and crop it to make it shorter. And this is what it looks like when you're all done. So the first thing you want to do is try on your button-up shirt and then fold it up to see how cropped you want to make it. And then you're just going to take a little pin like this and put it right in the shirt, down and up through the fabric until it holds the place. And we're going to cut it next. You're going to lay out your shirt. And we have the pin that we put in right here. Now we're going to cut below that pin, at least 3 finger widths below. We're going to button it up all the way down. Keep in mind where your pin is. And now what we're going to do is do a center fold. So you'll lift it up by this center part and flip it onto its side like this, making sure these ends are all lined up on the bottom. And now we're going to cut. So we're going to make sure that it's buttoned up and that this area is nice and smooth where we're going to cut. And then we'll just go in with some good fabric scissors through the center and then try to go as straight as you can to the middle of the shirt where you hit this shoulder seam. Once you get there, you can fold this piece across. And now we're just going to use this fabric to show us where to cut all the way across. So we'll go back in with the fabric scissors and just cut along that line. And then we're done. We can take this away and use it for something else. And now our shirt is already nice and cropped. So you could leave it like this with a raw edge and that would be fine. So if you like the raw edge look, then you wouldn't have cut with extra fabric at the bottom. But if you want to sew it down, that's what we're going to do now. So start at one end of the shirt like that. This is our pin showing us how long we want it to be. So we're going to fold the fabric once and then twice so it lines up with that pin. So you're going to grab some pins and roll it up once and then twice and pin it in place. And this will make your sewing much easier to do. And you're just going to keep pinning it all along this raw bottom. So roll it up once and then again and just put that pin in there to hold it in place. We're going to just do this all along the bottom. A seam is a very important place to pin because you always want to make sure your seam is lined up. So you'll fold it up once and then twice. Just going to take some thread like this, pull it out as long as your arm or a bit further. Then you're going to cut it and you're going to put the thread through the tiny hole, the top of the needle like that, and then pull it through until the ends of thread meet at the bottom. Smooth it out and we can see the ends meet at the bottom just like that. So now that it's pinned in place, you're just going to start sewing a little bit in from one of the edges. So you're going to go through the hem and then out through the regular part of the shirt and pull your thread almost all the way through, but not through completely. Now we're going to go back through close to the same holes you just made, and this is going to create a loop of thread. Creating this loop of thread, and you're going to put your needle through that and then pull it shut, and that creates a knot. So we're going to do knots all along right to the edge. So we'll go through the hem, out through the shirt, and then through this loop of thread and pulling it down into a knot. So we're just doing those knots all along here, making sure it's nice and secure until we get to the edge, and then we'll start working our way back. Now that we have a bunch of knots holding it in place, all we need to do is sew all along the edge. Just going through the bottom part of fabric and out through that rolled hem like that. And we're just going to keep doing that all along the shirt. And every now and then you want to make a knot by going back through the hole you started from and out through the same hole you came out, through that loop of thread, and pull it shut. When you are getting to a seam, that's a good place to do a lot of knots And also when you're low on thread, you're going to do a bunch of knots before you cut off. We're going to do a bunch of those knots going back through the same holes over and over, making that loop, putting it through the loop, pulling it tight, and making at least 2 or 3 knots before we cut off our thread and rethread our needle. So now that we've done a bunch of knots, you're ready to cut off your thread like that and rethread your needle. So we have rethread our needle with some fresh thread, and now we're just going to start right where we left off. So we're going to start off by making some more knots going through the shirt and out through that hem, pulling our thread through but not all the way through, and then go back through the same holes again, creating that loop of thread and going through the loop, pulling it shut. That makes a little knot. And when you have a couple knots done, you're ready to keep sewing. So you want to pick up just a small part of the shirt and then push your needle through that hem and pull it through. A small part of this fabric and then push it right through the hem and pull. And we will just keep doing this all along, holding it tight like that so you know exactly where to sew. So we are almost done here. We're almost on the other side of the shirt. So we're just going to keep doing those stitches, and every now and then just do a knot by creating that loop of thread and putting your needle through. We're definitely going to do a bunch of knots when we reach the end here, but we can start doing those knots. So through both holes, put your needle in that loop of thread and pull it shut. Right to the very end there, we're going to do another knot through that loop, pull it closed, and then we'll come back towards the middle of the shirt. We don't want our knots to be right on the end or you'll see them. So we'll finish off around here. So we'll put our needle through the loop of thread, and let's make about 3 knots before we cut this off and try it on. So you can take out those pins. We have enough knots, so now we can cut off our thread like that. This is all sewn down, and when you flip it over, we can't even see the stitches on the other side. And when you're all done, it's gonna look like this. So it's nice and cropped, sewn on the inside, or you can leave it a raw edge, whatever you want. Thanks for watching Cinderella Sew, and I'll see you soon. Peace.